What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 59 of the CHUMPcast. Brick bailed on us last minute, so our friend TJ from Red Bull heroically fills his seat by staring at his phone and occasionally making dick jokes. We also learned that he basically has seen no movies or television ever, and he doesn't even listen to the show. Obviously, he's the best guest we've ever had. This week, Mark and I review the newest sci-fi blockbuster and long-awaited sequel, Blade Runner 2049, starring Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford. We also debate whether or not you would even want to know that you were a replicant, and examine the world of robot wieners. As always, you can get us on Instagram and Twitter at the CHUMPcast, email us at thechumpcast@gmail.com, or write a strongly worded letter to your congressman in hopes of removing us from the airwaves altogether. If you want to support the show, you can find our merch on TeePublic. That's teepublic.com by searching CHUMPcast. If you like us, but you don't like us, you can just leave us a rating on iTunes. Please, I'm begging you. Whatever. Enjoy the show. Yeah.
Fuck Yankee, dude. Yankee's the worst.
Dude, some of my favorite memories of coming back to visit you guys after I graduated was you just
Yankee
busting in the room and playing your acoustic guitar and singing songs about Yankee and how much he sucked.
Dude, because he went like on a downward spiral when he broke up with his girlfriend. Remember he got jumped outside of our apartment?
Yeah.
Like, on Halloween, and his mom came and picked him up. He didn't even come to the party.
You just like walk around naked all day eating Easy Mac. Just like, all right, dude, put some clothes on. Like, get your life together.
Jesus Christ. And that's our Yankee segment.
That's Talking Yankee.
We for sure.
And that was Talking Yankee.
We for sure have to tell Yankee about Talking Yankee on this episode.
Talking Yankee.
All right. So our dumb question for the week, it's Blade Runner week. The sequel came out Friday. It's awesome. We'll
TJ thought it was called Blood Runner.
Yes,
by the way.
Yes. So the question is, obviously, if you've seen the original, you know that the underlying theme is whether or not Harrison Ford is a replicant, whether or not he's a robot or a real person. Mark, in his first eloquent thought in a long time, asked me if I was in this universe.
Not that eloquent, by the way. This isn't that hard of a question.
Would you want to know if you were a replicant or not?
TJ, would you want to know if you're a robot? If you literally, you couldn't be distinguished as either robot or human. Like you just don't know. There's nothing about you that makes it like weird. Like, you know for a fact you're a robot because you fucking don't blink or some shit like that. Like, you are so like a human, you just can't tell the difference. But would you want to know if you're a robot or not?
Yeah, I mean,
why? What would that do? What would that do for you?
Westworld right now?
No, Westworld. They find out because they can just be like shut off.
But
like these replicants.
Know, like in Westworld though, like straight up didn't know, and then the guy just freezes, and he's like, "There's a guy with an iPad just sitting there."
Replicants are a little different in the aspect that, like in Westworld, they can shut them off, they can alter their emotions and all that shit. A replicant, they can't really do anything. They are as they are. The only thing they can do is seeing how they like test them every once in a while to make sure they're not fucking psychotic and aren't going to like rebel against humans. But
I don't think you want to know. I don't think you do, because
it just
then you
doesn't
realize
really
that you're a machine that was built for a purpose, which gives you even less purpose in your real life. It's a question of, do you actually have free will, or is everything predetermined?
Yeah.
And are we all in a simulation? And how much weed did we smoke before we came up with this?
But also, let's say something happened in the world where someone came over power and they either said, okay, replicants are going to take over this world, or humans are going to destroy all the replicants. Wouldn't you want to know for some instance along that matter, just to be like, okay, I am a robot, so I got to fucking either go hide, or...
If they can't tell, or if you can't tell, how can they tell?
I don't know.
Will you set up your own void comp machine? I don't think you can do that. I think it's got to be a world where no one knows.
TJ's like, what?
Dude, seriously, I'm just looking at both you guys like,
yo, you want some of these mushrooms?
Yeah, seriously.
TJ, by the way, we dropped 3 hits of acid and fucking took 5 mushrooms.
Can you imagine going to see this movie on acid? Jesus Christ.
Was it visually appealing?
Yes.
Very visually stunning.
That's now I wanted to see it. I think I remember seeing the trailer and I was like, I need to see that.
It's super long, so with your attention span, you won't do that well.
It's like
seriously like 3 hours fucking long.
Do me a favor. Don't put your hands between the microphone and your mouth.
Sorry. Miller Lite is...
I think I would want to know. Just to be like, when I go to bed at night, I'm like, yeah, I'm a fucking robot.
I don't think you would be. I think you would have an existential crisis. Like, it's really hard to talk about this without ruining the movie.
Like, yeah, I got robot arms, a robot dick.
But Ryan Gosling has a legit...
come get this pipe. It's literally a pipe.
What if J.R.
Can we
Smith
just talk
is a
about,
robot?
Can we just talk about robot ham hogs for a minute? Let's just go into that for a second. I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't change whether, I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't change an existent, what is it? Crisis?
Existential
crisis. I think it wouldn't change.
You know what this makes me think about? That scene in Westworld when one of the techs, Thandie Newton, makes like a joke, like, maybe you're not real. And he looks at his hands and he's like, oh, fuck. What if I'm a... That's pretty great. That's one of my favorite scenes, and that's what makes me...
That's another reason I want to know, is I wouldn't want to question what I am for the rest of my life. I would just want to know.
But Ryan
would
Gosling...
it change your day-to-day, though?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I might like whisper under my tongue, just be like, yeah, I'm a fucking robot.
Ryan Gosling goes through this thing in this movie where he has just an existential crisis. He's like, what does it all mean? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
I already have enough fucking problems. I don't need that weighing on me, too. I think I'd rather just not know.
By the way, if you're a replicant, dude, those motherfuckers drink so much in the movie.
I
was going to talk about
Wait, do they drink Johnny Walker the whole time?
Yeah, they just get hammered.
saw a video on Johnny Walker.
So you might be a replicant. I mean, you fucking are an alcoholic, so.
What if this is all just a simulation? Fuck. Great, that's our dumb question. Anybody got anything else?
Thanks for diving deep into that one, TJ. We appreciate it.
I just got to see the movie now. That's about it.
TJ, who showed up 5 minutes ago.
TJ's going to go see the movie and just text me and be like, I want a robot dick.
That's all you're going to be thinking about. What if the curse of being a replicant or a robot is just like you're built with a tiny wiener?
Then I don't want to.
Wouldn't that be the biggest dick move ever? Yeah. If you can build a literal perfect human being, quote unquote, and you give him a tiny wiener. What's that like, TJ?
You'd be walking down the street. They'd be wiping out all the replicants. Be like, pull down your pants, sir. Pull them down.
I'm not a robot. I just have a really tiny dick.
You just have a real fucking small. They murder you.
Yo, talk in that microphone.
You just run screaming because you just naturally have a tiny wang.
They have a micro penis. Remember, I showed you what a micro penis was.
Yeah,
you were so blown away.
Thank you for that, by the way. And you Googled it on my computer too.
Yeah, I think Ryan told me I had he's like, oh yeah, because you got a small dick. So I'm like, dude, you got a micro penis. He's like, what's a micro penis? I'm like, Google it.
No, you Googled it on my fucking computer.
It's disturbing.
So now Google definitely thinks that I have a micro penis.
It's like a belly button for a penis.
It's like all your Instagram ads are just like different pants.
Do you have a micro penis? We can fix you.
Like
dick
it's
implants.
like depression, like a guy just staring at a beach.
All right, let's get into our best man alive of the week segment. Mark, you want to kick it off? Do you have one? Are you prepared at all?
Well, I do, but this is going to be really quick. Whoever the fuck threw a paper airplane at the England the World Cup qualifier, some fucking fan was literally in like the third level. Top of the fucking stadium. And I guess when there's like intermission, I think it was just a fucking boring game. I think England was working Slovenia, I think is who they were playing.
Was talking soccer.
But yeah, anyways, yesterday there was a lot of World Cup qualifiers. Like the U.S. qualified for the World Cup. They beat, who did they beat? Did you see that?
I don't fucking know.
Okay. Josie Anador had like 2 goals.
But anyways, this guy fucking made a paper airplane and fucking chucked it from his section like all the way up there in the stadium, in the stands. Dude, this thing was flying probably 45 seconds, just slow as fuck. And everyone is just going crazy as it heads towards the goal. And it fucking swooshes right in the fucking goal. And everyone just like, it erupts the whole stadium.
Damn.
Just like, wow, that is amazing. But whoever that fan is, man or woman.
We got to try that in the Bears. Let's go to the Bears game Monday and try to get a field goal.
Just start thrown out. We're just hammered. Like, get the fuck out of here, guys.
How great is it that everybody now has a video camera? And like, 20 years ago, we never would have seen that footage.
You can capture everything.
It's kind of, I mean, it's amazing. It's also terrible, but because you can't do anything.
Dude, all the door guys on Division Street had body cams on them. We were showing their IDs.
Ooh, that's creepy as fuck.
Yeah, like just like a little camera right there.
Yeah, I don't like that. I got one, and it is Tina Fey, who is one of my favorite people alive. Obviously, October 3rd was this week, which is Mean Girls Day. So in honor of that, she was in New York handing out cheese fries to people on the street.
That's so fetch.
So fetch. He asked me what day it was.
She doesn't even go here, dude.
I saw that guy. I forgot his name, the character. He is, he's been on a show. I think he hosted a cake show, like a cake boss show too. But he was a judge. The actor that played whatever his name was in Mean Girls. And
what guy? Like the Indian guy that raps?
No, like the main guy. Like I forgot.
Kevin G. No.
That everyone's like falling in love with?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he
hasn't been in anything since, I feel like.
Yeah, he is very gay too, by the way.
I read a story about Kevin G. The rap.
Oh, Kevin G. That's what I'm looking for.
And how that was the only movie part he ever had. And now he has a totally normal life. And he's like an accountant or some shit.
Yeah.
It's just so fucking weird.
It's hilarious.
Aaron Samuels, his name is Jonathan Bennett. That's it. So,
Cool.
yeah, he was at DS Tequila on Market Days one time. And I was like,
There you go.
hey, what day is it? He's like, it's August 19th.
You idiot. Don't you have a fucking calendar? I'm guessing you don't have anything for this because you were a last minute fill in for Brick, who bailed also last minute.
Think about sports, the sports world.
Kyle Hendricks, best man alive.
He did.
It's very
fun at gem.
We're Cubs fans.
Very no emotion. Very no emotion. Like the little nod.
Fuck, he's a replicant. God.
Yeah.
Everybody's a fucking robot.
He for sure would have been an
I'm
accountant
terrified
if
of
he
John
didn't get into
Lester right
baseball.
now, coming up in a half hour.
I do want to mention one other. Obviously, some shitty things happened in Las Vegas this week. We try not to touch on that because life is depressing enough. But the dude, the Iraq war vet who stole a truck and drove like 30 people to the hospital, that's a pretty badass story.
Yeah, all those guys are.
I don't have the words to describe that, so we're just not going to.
Speaking of how everyone has a video camera, all that shit that's leaking now from people capturing it, that's intense shit.
That's dumb.
Dan Blazerian just posted like his friend, him not knowing his friend was recording him. Okay, dude.
Yeah, sure.
But posted a video of him like running through, and all I got from it after watching it was, yeah, he was consoling some people. For the most part, all he was doing, he was trying to get into a cop car to get a gun. And then he ran up to another cop with an AR and he asked him for his gun. I'm like, he's not going to fucking hand you.
Wait,
Yeah,
so
yes.
I was like up late at night listening to the radio with the cops, and they kept saying like shooters, like other shooters, and all I could picture is Bill Zarian running around Vegas, just like me.
That's exactly what the cops don't want, is somebody else walking around with a fucking gun.
Yeah.
You moron.
God.
Is he an all-time dirtbag? He's got to be, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's kind of an assoul.
yeah. He's
like, I'm no way a hero. I'm like, yeah, all you did was run around.
Yeah.
I know
Nobody called you a hero.
I know you have firearm training and you shoot hella guns all the time and fucking blow shit up, but like, cop's not just going to hand you his gun because you say. And he also said he was like some certified police officer. Like he got some certification.
Shut the fuck up, dude.
Anyways, I mean, respect to him for being out there and at least wanting to do something. But he just kind of went.
Like you said, how much of it was for the camera?
I don't know. I'm just speculating of what I think happened. But from what I saw, like, you're not just going to ask a cop for his gun because he's going to turn to you and be like, oh, you're Dan Blazerian. You're the one that gets
saved. Dan Blazerian's here.
You threw that hooker off the 2 stories into a pool and broke her legs or whatever. You that guy.
All right, I got one more and we'll get into the news. Did you see at the Equifax Senate hearings that person who showed up behind
the Monopoly man,
the CEO Richard Smith?
Oh yeah, so I did see that guy.
That's fucking amazing.
How the fuck did they let that guy in?
So that's the thing. He did an AMA on Reddit. It's a woman. She did an AMA on Reddit. Her name is Amanda Werner, and she shows up at the Senate hearing where obviously
looking
Equifax,
normal. I would assume.
What?
She wasn't dressed like that. Was she hiding that?
You can do that. Like they can't regulate how you're dressed. So there was an intern, and there's a lot of rules. She goes into detail explaining how she did it and what the rules are. You can't have a sign, you can't cause a scene, like you can't be loud. But what she did was totally fine.
She just
and
dressed up like
they'll probably
Monopoly
change that now, but that was like an all-time prank.
Like you can't bring the squid into a hockey game.
Yeah. So you hide it in your pants. But I mean, can you imagine like the planning alone that went into this? To get the seat that's right behind him so you know you're going to be on TV, so you know everybody sees it. It's just fucking hilarious.
And she was right there.
Yes. So, yes, that is for sure best woman alive of the week. All right. You want to talk news? Let's talk news. We had a new Pacific Rim trailer, which looks awesome, actually.
I feel like TJ has seen that movie.
No, I haven't.
Dude, have you seen any movies ever?
I haven't seen that movie.
I saw it.
We're going to re-review it right now.
All right, so the Pacific Rim trailer, tons of monsters, giant robots, and John Boyega, who I guess is supposed to play Idris Elba's son from the first one. Idris Elba's dead. I don't know. It looks like a Transformers movie, but a Transformers movie that I actually want to see.
Did you like the first one?
I did. I mean, it's
Really?
a stupid popcorn
I
flick.
heard it was super long, though.
It's fine.
Did you like Hunnam in it? Guy
yes,
from Sons of
yeah, I
Anarchy?
did actually.
Yeah,
He's good. Scott Eastwood, I think, was in the first one too.
most likely.
I know he's going to be in this one. I don't know if he was in the first one.
He's got like his own movie coming out, supposedly.
Charlie
Big
Day's
deal.
coming back. Ron Perlman's coming back. So yeah, I'm excited for this. I think it looks good. And I guess Guillermo del Toro is not directing this, so it'll be a little different, but I don't know.
The guy that shot San Jose, or what was it? San Juan? No,
San Andreas?
San Andreas. Yeah, he's directing.
San Juan?
San Juan.
San Marcos? We had another trailer for the Keanu Reeves movie coming up called Replicas. Basically, his family dies and he's a scientist, so he clones them.
No way.
Actually, looks kind of good based on the trailer.
Whoa.
Don't you dare disrespect Keanu Reeves on the podcast.
Wild stallions.
I will see anything that he
I
does.
would pay so much money for in John Wick 3 if he had a scene where he like shot a guy in the back of the head and like some other guy came out of nowhere and he just avoided getting killed and he was like, whoa.
It's Ted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that movie's still happening, by the way, because he was in a screening for this.
I hope they make 23 of those.
What?
Bill and Ted 3?
No, not those. John Wick's.
Oh, no, he was doing press for Replicas, and he was asked the question about Bill and Ted 3, and apparently that's still happening. So New York Comic Con is going on right now. Most of the big news will come out today and tomorrow, so we'll cover all that next week.
And New York Comic Con supposedly is sponsored by Monster Energy drink, which is a huge deal because Red Bull doesn't do shit, right, TJ?
Is it sponsored by Monster?
I actually have no idea. If you guys were smart, you'd figure out a way how to get into the Comic Cons.
You know that, baby.
Dude,
do you know how many fat, smelly people there that drink Red Bull?
They might be at San Diego.
They probably sampled.
Do you know San Diego Comic Con is currently the biggest gathering of humans?
Juggalos?
Yes, in the U.S. Like bigger than any concert, any music festival.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, like get your shit in there, dude.
We have to. I mean, they probably
Seriously.
sample and everything.
Well, they do 5 Hour Energy. They always have a booth there.
You could for sure get in there.
Yeah, so you got to crush them. You got to stomp them out, Mr. Red Bull.
I think they would just have like the girls like go through, or like the Wings team go through and sample, but sometimes it's exclusive.
Just driving their car around the convention.
Yeah.
Just like running people over like, hi guys.
Great, moving on. We got last trailer. Marvel's Runaways is coming to Hulu. So the story of the Runaways is they're a group of teenagers who find out that their parents are supervillains and they run away.
Wow.
Boom. And maybe there's a dinosaur.
There's a dinosaur,
yeah.
you said?
They're supposed to be in the Runaways. One of the girls has like this telepathic link to a dinosaur.
She controls the dinosaur with her telekinesis.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm pumped for this. Looks good. It's still interesting to me that they're, with all the shows that Netflix has of Marvel, that they're doing this on Hulu.
So she has dinokinesis, dude?
Okay, moving on. Game of Thrones is set to start filming in 2 weeks and reportedly has a budget of $15 million per episode. So that's 50% higher than their budget was for each episode this season.
You watch Game of Thrones, CJ?
I don't.
Dude,
You're the fucking worst guy
what
ever.
do you do? What do you do ever?
I know that Spencer's trying to get a football team in Las Vegas.
TJ in his spare time plays
Ballers.
flag football with some raw-ass dudes, such as myself. He gets half-sleeve arm tats. He drinks Red Bull.
Dude,
and
Mark stepped on my foot and I woke up and there was blood all over my bed. My foot is so fucked.
We had our
He
first
stepped on my
flag
toe.
football game. I stepped directly on his big toe.
And by the way, we're in like competitive A-League, and I snapped the ball to Zach, and it was Ndamukong Suh and JPP just coming around the court. Mark and Pat Cox on either side, and it was the quickest moving thing. Zach was like, just threw the ball.
Yeah.
All right. Universal has supposedly delayed filming for Bride of Frankenstein, which was supposed to be the second installment in their dark universe. Follow up to The Mummy with Tom Cruise, which sucked.
Was it really bad? Did you guys see
It was
that?
terrible.
I don't give a fuck.
Are you telling me you don't listen to this podcast?
What's up?
The worst.
I'm a few episodes behind.
That was like 6 months ago. Cool.
TJ's like gonna completely forget he even did this episode. Like, listen to this episode one day in his car, and be like, "Who the fuck is that guy talking?" It's low key you.
Who's this idiot talking about robot dicks?
Yeah, how's Tom Cruise's schlong looking, Mummy? Let's talk about that.
Tom Cruise.
There's no way you can be that charismatic and have a tiny dick. I'm just saying.
He's pretty short in person, but
There's a rumor that the long-delayed Gambit movie that's supposed to star Channing Tatum is in talks with Daniel Craig to play Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister, if you don't know the X-Men, is probably one of the best villains ever. He's a mutant that clones other mutants trying to make perfect mutants. He's had some great storylines. I think this would be great. And Daniel Craig is awesome.
Isn't that primarily the storyline of all X-Men movies when they just try to make the
yeah,
perfect
more or less.
mutant?
Pretty much.
The terrible
But
one.
he's a mutant doing it.
The one wasn't Ryan Reynolds in one as Deadpool,
we
where
don't
he
talk
was
about
like
that.
the perfect mutant.
We don't talk about that.
And then in Logan, that was the perfect Logan, I guess, that they had fight him. God,
like you won't go see this?
I'll go see it. I'm
shut
stating
up.
the obvious.
Paramount is apparently making a live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movie that will almost certainly haunt everyone's dreams. I guess the only promising part of this is that they snagged Deadpool director Tim Miller, and he's going to produce it. So maybe it'll be like dark and edgy and
Is
different.
the Hedgehog going to be somebody, or is it just going to be a CGI?
I have no idea. Maybe they'll do it like they did the Jungle Book and Beauty and the Beast and shit. I have no idea, but
who cares?
Yeah. Last bit of news in further proof that Marvel has absolutely no idea what its fans want anymore. Iron Fist is going to show up in season 2 of Luke Cage.
I don't care. Sorry.
You care because you want to like Luke Cage.
I do.
And you hate Finn Jones.
I want to like Luke Cage. I actually watched like one episode of Luke Cage and wasn't really feeling it. So I stopped. I enjoyed Daredevil. I'm still on season 2. I'm way behind with all these fucking series on Netflix. All the Marvel series.
I liked Luke Cage.
I heard Jessica Jones was good. I might watch that one next.
The ending kind of trails off because you get a villain that's completely ridiculous and terrible. But I love Mike Coulter as Luke Cage. Obviously, I'm going to watch it, but I will lament the fact that Finn Jones will be in it. At this point, we're going to kick DJ out of the room because he didn't see Blade Runner. So get the fuck out and shut up. So our movie review for this week is going to be Blade Runner 2049. Just came out. Immediately, I'll just say this movie's fucking awesome.
Ryan Gosling murdered it.
Mark suggested that I give a little background on the first Blade Runner, which originally came out in 1982, directed by Ridley Scott. It's actually it's based on the novel by Philip K. Dick, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? So I've never read that personally.
That's
People
the book
love
title?
It. Yes. And there were actually several sequel novels too, but that were written by his best friend, I guess. But this movie doesn't really adhere to any of those plots. I digress. The original movie, Blade Runner, if you haven't seen it, first of all, go watch it. Go watch the final cut that they released and remastered in 2007 because it's awesome. I rewatched it this week. It was like seeing a brand new movie compared to the original. So I'll try not to go into this too deeply, but the original version that was released in 82, Ridley Scott hated. And he was pissed that the studio made him go in and do Harrison Ford's voiceover because Harrison Ford did it very lackluster and just deadpan the whole time, putting no emotion into it. The whole thing is Ridley Scott wanted to leave it ambiguous as to whether or not Harrison Ford, Rick Deckard, is a replicant. So in this universe, in the 1982 version, it's 2019. Replicants are basically androids that look like humans. So they were created for slavery purposes. They're going to send them off world to do mining and shit like that. Obviously, they revolted because that's what Elon Musk's worst nightmare is. Replicants are banned, and they hire these sort of cops, and they call them Blade Runners, and their job is to go out and kill all of these replicants.
Distinguish them.
So at this point, there aren't very many left on Earth, but you find a few every now and then that come back from outer space, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the whole point. And the plot of that movie is basically Harrison Ford trying to figure out whether or not he's a replicant or a person. He's out there and he does, I guess the main villain for that, I struggle with this because he's not really a villain. Rutger Hauer in that movie is literally just trying to survive longer. And he does some bad shit.
A longer lifespan.
Yeah, he does some bad shit, but he's not a villain. People will kill to stay alive. That's what they do.
He does gouge out the eyes of
Tyrell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the guy couldn't help him. So, I mean, what would you do if you were going to die and the one person that you thought could help you wouldn't be able to help you?
We assume he murdered, once the guy got in the elevator, the actual guy that was helping him to get to Tyrell too.
I hadn't really thought about that.
Yeah. He's maybe not the best sort of AI out there, but...
Okay. Anyways, back to the plot. The movie's awesome. Watch it. They pull it off Netflix, which pisses me off. But of course they do that because they want to get the rental revenue. I rented it like a dumbass. It's on Amazon Prime for $4.
It was on Netflix before?
It was on Netflix like last month, and they pulled it off because this movie was coming. And I guess I'll say one more thing. There's 3 versions of it. There's the original version, the director's cut, which came out like 5 years later, and Ridley Scott still hated it because they made him leave the voiceover in still. The final cut is the one you want to watch. The whole point of the movie is you're not supposed to know whether Deckard is a replicant or not. In the original cut, they give it away. So
I thought it was vice versa. I thought in the final cut, it's more clear that he is, in fact, a replicant.
The main difference is the scene where he's like envisioning a unicorn in his head.
Yeah.
That's the main difference between that one and the original. But with the voiceover one, they basically give it away completely. So just avoid that one altogether. All right. Blade Runner 2049. 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, 86% from fans. I'd say that's pretty accurate.
I'm kind of blown away by that, considering it's a sci-fi film and it's a sequel.
Right, but
initially,
it's also...
when a sequel comes out, you just expect its ratings to be a little bit lower.
But it's been 35 years. Huge star power. You got Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford, Jared Leto. And also, when you take into consideration that there haven't been any big blockbusters in the last month.
Yeah, this is a big one.
I'd say this, I mean, it's not really on pace for a great opening weekend, which sucks because I would like to see them do a little bit more with this. But it had a $185 million budget, which is fucking massive. Mm-hmm. But they did really well with it too. So this was directed by Denis Villeneuve, who did Arrival and Sicario. So if this is on his resume, I'm pretty confident in this dude. Maybe like we should give him a Star Wars movie.
That would not be a bad idea.
I mean, if you give him a big budget, he can obviously do something with it.
The visuals in this fucking movie were fantastic.
Insane. They're ridiculous. And a lot of that credit should go to Roger Deakins, who did the cinematography on this. He's kind of like an unsung hero of Hollywood. He's never won an Oscar, even though he should have. A lot of his movies are shot in kind of the same way. He did the cinematography for No Country for Old Men, Sicario, and Big Lebowski. If you go to his Wikipedia page, you'll just see a list of just ridiculous. It's so long. He's been doing it for like 40 years.
Wait, was awesome. No Country for Old Men Coen Brothers film?
Yes.
And then Big Lebowski?
Yeah.
So has he worked primarily with the Coen Brothers? Mainly?
That's most of his movies will be Coen Brothers movies, yeah. And Villeneuve, because he did Sicario as well.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess a little bit of the plot of this movie, you can't really talk about it without spoiling it. So I'll just give the basis. If you've seen the trailer, you know what it's about.
30 years forward.
30 years later, you got an LAPD officer, Ryan Gosling, we'll call him K, who uncovers some really weird secrets that lead him down a rabbit hole of these conspiracy theories and shit. And he has to go find Rick Deckard, Harrison Ford, and figure all this shit out. So Niander Wallace, who is played by Jared Leto, you see him in the trailer a little bit, not really in the movie a ton, but he bought out Tyrell Corp after Tyrell was murdered. He made billions of dollars by basically saving the planet. He found cheap food sources to stave off famine. So he made a shitload of money, bought out the Tyrell Corporation, who made the original replicants, put out new replicants that are supposedly safe. So that's your setup for the universe here. Their depiction of LA 30 years from now is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Like it's just dark all the time, always raining and shitty and dirty. But it also kind of drags you in. It makes you feel like you're there. Between that and the score, which was a Hans Zimmer score, so you know it's already epic.
Dark Knight.
Yeah.
God.
You
could tell it's Hans Zimmer too.
Definitely. Big, banging tones. Yeah, it's very much Hans Zimmer. I will say, thank God that Ridley Scott didn't direct this and they gave it to Villeneuve, because...
You initially thought he was directing it.
I did, and...
When we met before, I'm like, I don't think he is.
Yeah, so well, I guess I just assumed since he did the original that they would bring him on it, but he hasn't done anything.
Do you think he didn't want it? What do you think the reason is that he didn't direct it?
I don't know. Because
he has the rights to it. It's not like somebody said, "Hey, we're doing this movie, but we're not going to have you direct it." It's not in their power to say. He can.
I bet it was more of a scheduling thing because he was working on Covenant. I bet that's what it was, and he was also thinking that he was going to do another Alien movie, which apparently now is on the back burner and maybe getting nixed. So
what do you think he thought of this movie?
I hope he looks at it and goes, that's what I envisioned for the first one, because I think it's very faithful to the original.
Yeah.
But I also think that he's probably pissed that he didn't get to direct it.
Yeah.
Especially
he's probably pissed it was so good.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He's probably a little bit salty.
He is super petty too.
He's salty as fuck.
I think he's kind of a dick, but that's neither here nor there. It almost never works out that you get a sequel to something 35 years later that is amazing and faithful to the original, and I mean, in my opinion, probably better than the original. I know that the nostalgia and people really look up to the original Blade Runner because it was kind of the first of its kind. It really paved the way for sci-fi at the time. I mean, you had Star Wars and shit, but this was totally different.
I did enjoy the original Blade Runner. I wasn't as big of a fan as I thought I would be. I like sci-fi movies in general, but after seeing it, I wasn't that blown away. I have a lot more appreciation after watching this one. Mainly because I love the way they expanded the universe of this movie. The original was pretty condensed into what you saw in the Blade Runner world. And this one, they really expanded just the theme of the whole movie. So that's what I really liked about it. Even
the settings. You know, the first one doesn't leave LA.
Yeah.
So they do a little bit of that, but we'll save that for spoilers.
And they kept faith to the style of the first one. Like all the holograms and all of the billboards and neon flashing lights and all that shit that's going on and shit flying around. They kept faith to what the original was all about. And the score too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they kept faith to the score, but I thought I don't know what it is about the 80s music, and I don't know if it's the sound quality or the synths they use in the synths. I can't even say synth.
Synth?
That's so hard to say.
Yeah, just say synthesizer. I can't even say synthesizer. The synthesizer in Blade Runner.
All the synthesizers, just whatever they were using in the music, it just, I don't know what it is, but it might be the quality.
I remember
something really bothers me about 80s music and the 80s.
See, that's why it's worth watching the remaster from 2007. It's 100% worth it. Even the picture quality, I mean, they did it in 1080. It looks great. It sounds better too. But you said to me before we saw this, I hated the music from the first one. I'm like, dude, you're not going to like this then because it's pretty much the same thing, just kind of updated.
Yeah.
So yeah, but they did. I mean, you hear it and you're definitely like, oh, that's Blade Runner.
Yeah, you related to the first one, but the music was by far better than the original.
I think so. Let's talk a little bit about the cast. It's pretty amazing. Like I said, star-studded. Ryan Gosling, he was excellent in this. He shows zero emotion through the first, couple hours of the movie. And I will say this is a very long movie. It's almost 3 hours. It's like 2:45 or something like that.
It is very long.
But it reminded me a lot of the character that he played in Drive. Just like the stone-faced.
No emotion.
Yeah, which is good because he's supposed to be playing a robot.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he does an excellent job in this, even though this is probably the least attracted I've ever been to Ryan Gosling.
He didn't take his shirt off once in the movie, which was a little frustrating. But
he wanted to be able to eat tacos and shit. Anna de Armas plays his girlfriend or his love interest, I guess. His sexy Amazon Echo. It's very weird, but
what's her name? Joy,
yes, and she's also excellent. She plays a great part in this, and it's pivotal to understanding why he thinks the way that he thinks and all that. So,
what kind of accent do you think that is? Is that Russian?
I don't know. It definitely felt Eastern European.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I don't know. I'd have to hear it again. Jared Leto is supposedly the overarching villain, based on what they would lead you to believe in the trailers, and he is. I just don't buy it. And why was he blind? It didn't serve and it didn't add anything.
No. I think it's because what's the test called that they do?
The Voight-Kampff.
The Voight-Kampff, how it's so focused on your eyes and how your eyes are dilating and so on. I think that's the reason. Either.
Wait, is he a replicant?
But maybe, who knows? But they couldn't pass a test for him because he's fucking blind. He probably blinded himself.
That's insane.
But he's technically not. Well, he is blind, but he has technology, so he can see in some way. But
side note, I think I hate Jared Leto.
Dude, I like Jared Leto. I've been listening to a lot of like Jared Leto and 30 Seconds to Mars.
It's just the stories about him and what he does on set. He's a full character actor. Like, he's just a dick.
I don't know if he's a dick. He's super fucking talented, though.
He ruined the Joker.
You can't dislike him because he's super
talented. I didn't like him in this. I love his band. I like his band a lot better than I like his acting. He's
a phenomenal singer.
Yes,
his range is ridiculous.
Completely.
People don't realize that. Kelly, we were listening to the 30 Seconds to Mars. There was some acoustic set he was doing, and I was playing it on YouTube. And Kelly's like, wow, who is this? Who's singing? I'm like, Jared Leto. She's like, wait, what? I'm like, it's Jared Leto. She's like, no, it's not. And then she sees him just belting away with his fedora hat on. I was like, yeah, it's Jared Leto. Believe it. Yeah. He was into the whole arts real early on. I don't know necessarily if he was in acting early. He did American Psycho probably when he was early 20s, I think.
How old do you think he is now?
And he was doing acting before then, but he was also into music at a very young age too.
Obviously, you see in the trailer that Harrison Ford is in it. He's still awesome. What surprised me most about this is, unlike Star Wars, he actually seemed like he wanted to be here, and he enjoyed it, and he actually gave effort, which I feel like he hasn't done in a movie in a long time. But also, every time I see him, he just reminds me of my dad. He kind of looks like my dad.
Is that guy my dad?
Yeah, I think he just looks like everybody's dad.
Especially like when you're at the Cubs game, you're like, is that my dad? Everyone's just a dad there.
I think he reminds me most of my dad when my dad is very grumpy. That's Harrison Ford.
Yeah, dad.
Like, if somebody somehow didn't know who Harrison Ford was, but they knew my dad, that's how I would describe him.
Drinking whiskey neat and so on.
Definitely.
Johnny Walker.
Robin Wright plays Kay, Ryan Gosling's boss, who is basically an LAPD sergeant.
Robin Wright, for people out there, you would be familiar with her as Claire Underwood from House of Cards.
There you go. I don't really know what her motivation is in this movie. It was kind of unclear. She kind of helps Kay. She kind of doesn't. I don't know. I could take her or leave her as far as acting goes.
Lenny James is in this. When we were in the movie, you're like, is that Forrest Whitaker? I'm like, look at his eye. That is not Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, that was my moment.
Right eye. Doesn't have a lazy right eye. Lenny James is, you'll know him as, if you watch The Walking Dead, he's the guy with the stick. Yeah.
Morgan. I guess give me a rating for this.
I'm going to give it a 9.
Same.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see this again as soon as my movie pass comes in the mail.
I think it deserves a 9, full-fledged.
Yeah, I will see this several times, and I'll probably see stuff that I didn't see the first time.
I think a lot of people wanted to dislike this movie coming into it because a lot of people probably were very hardcore Blade Runner fans and critics.
Yeah, and maybe
when you have Ryan Gosling as the main character, you deep down you kind of want to rip it apart going into it.
Also, people see that Ridley Scott didn't do the sequel, and they're like, fuck, this is going to suck.
Yeah.
But that is not at all the case. I'm very happy they didn't give this to Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
And I guess the one other thing I'll say before we spoil this, the beauty of the first one is the ambiguity. You don't know whether or not Harrison Ford is a replicant. And I walked out of this, and at first I was like, well, fuck, they answered that question. And then the more I thought about it, they don't. It's still ambiguous. Like, you think you know, but then things come up that make you start to question why you think that. It's very hard to explain, but I will say that at the end of this movie, I still have no idea whether or not he is a human being or a replicant.
It was funny because we had a few drinks beforehand going into the theater, and I would say about halfway through the movie, we thought we had it figured out.
Oh yeah,
we fucking
they throw you a curveball
wrong
for sure, which is great. It's a great addition to this movie. So
my mind was blown definitely walking out of that movie
for sure. I think at this point we're going to spoil it, so I'll mark it in the show notes and make sure you tune in afterwards for our recommendations of the week. That said, spoilers ahead. This movie needed more Dave Bautista. That opening scene with him was awesome.
It did. I think the movie, well, you probably didn't want any more Jared Leto, but I would have liked to see a little more Jared Leto considering he was the main villain, and they didn't really deliver on that. He was in probably, all in all, 15 minutes of the movie, I would say.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. And actually, I was reading some of the notes about the making of it. He was only on set for 2 weeks.
Really?
Which tells you everything you need to know about how much he's going to be in this movie.
Yeah.
They shot this in like Albania or some shit. Or Hungary, maybe? I don't know. Whatever. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Also, I kind of wanted to see Rutger Hauer come back. Like another, you know how they brought back Rachel from the original, just a new replicant of her? Mm-hmm. And by the way, the de-aging on that was fucking flawless.
Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. That is one thing I completely forgot when I was going to lean over to you and ask you, because when they showed Rachel, it looked so real. I thought it was just a lookalike, and I leaned over to you because I couldn't really remember what exactly she looked like in the original, and I was going to lean over to you and just say, is that like just a doppelganger? Like, who is that? But it was fucking CG, which is mind blowing because I can pick up on that usually right away. Like in Star Wars, I was like, this is bothering me because I know it's CG'd.
They did it right by not showing like an extreme close up. That's where Star Wars fucked up.
Yeah.
And obviously they're getting better at this as they go along. They're getting more and more. We're going to cross that Uncanny Valley. And it's going to be fucking insane. But I did like seeing her come back, but also give me more Rutger Hauer. That fucking psychopath. Give me that Roy Batty.
It was kind of creepy how well they remade her in this movie.
I talked a little bit about the answer that we had from the original about Deckard being a replicant.
Mm-hmm.
But is he a replicant? You think that he is, because so the whole story, you need to understand the story for this, and I'll do it brief. The whole point is that replicants can now reproduce, which would be very bad for humans because they were killing humans and shit. So they would probably murder all of them and just start their own society, and it would be peaceful in utopia. But Harrison Ford gets Rachel from the original that we talked about pregnant. So she has twins. She dies giving birth, and one of the twins dies as well. You're led to think, when we talk about that twist, you're led to think that Gosling is the twin at first. He's the twin boy. There's a boy and a girl. And in the end, you find out he's not, and maybe we'll get to that more later. Do you know that he's a replicant? Because there was a scene at the end where Ryan Gosling just fucking runs through a wall, and Harrison Ford goes through the door. So if he's a replicant, shouldn't he just be able to run through the wall?
Here's the thing. You can trace it back to the original when he is taking punches from replicants and also doing damage to them as well. Considering their super strength, that shouldn't happen. One punch to the face, his head should have turned around. He was also hitting the shit out of Ryan Gosling in the face. And I don't know if that was just Ryan Gosling not caring because he knew that was potentially his father and was just taking punches from him. To me, it looked like those weren't doing shit to him when he was getting hit in the face.
Real quick, did you see the picture on the internet of apparently while they were shooting this, when they shot the scene in the casino and Harrison Ford's punching him in the face, he actually accidentally hit him?
Really? Did he have like a swollen jaw?
There's a picture of the exact moment that it happens, and you can see Harrison Ford's oh shit face. Dude, if you're listening to this, Google it because it's amazing. The caption of it is, the exact moment that Harrison Ford realized he punched Ryan Gosling in the face. It's fucking awesome.
But was it intentional?
You know what? Harrison Ford is a grumpy old man, but I don't know how you can look at Ryan Gosling and not like him. We talked a little bit about the plot and the misdirect here. I thought it was brilliant, but also you said at the end after we walked out of this, yeah, there's no way they were going to make it that obvious.
No way.
You were led to think that within the first hour of the movie, and you're right. They wouldn't have just outright said it that way. They would, hint at it and shit, and then
we were buzzed like, oh, it's obvious. Ryan Gosling is Harrison Ford's son, is Deckard's son.
Yeah, not even close.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. Another, just nice allusion to Harrison Ford being a replicant or not. Ryan Gosling asks him, is that real? And he's talking about the dog that Harrison Ford has. And he goes, I don't know. Why don't you ask him? That was just fucking, it was spot on.
That was
perfect.
Clever.
So Ryan Gosling's character as a whole, Kay or Joe or whatever you want to call him, is so fucking tragic. Everything about his existence sucks.
He's in love with a hologram.
I think that their love story was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It was so terrible and hard to watch because she's a hologram and you can tell that she's kind of artificial intelligence. I guess after she quote unquote dies, because he takes her with him. There's the scene where he's walking in the rain and he's crying and he sees an advertisement for Joy and you realize that there are billions of these things. If she wasn't a one-off, this is like Siri on your phone.
And they all look the same.
That was what made me, it just broke my heart, dude. I loved that. It was such a great addition to it. Side note, the advertising in this, that's how you do product placement.
Yeah.
It's not super in your face. And when you see it, it looks really good. It's not Mark Wahlberg drinking your milk or whatever.
Be specific.
Well, the Atari sign in the,
I didn't notice
in the
that
trailer.
One.
That's in the trailer. It's huge, massive, and it's incorporated into the shot without being super obvious. There were a lot of Coca-Cola ads.
Yep, I saw the Coca-Cola ones.
It didn't bother me at all. And Peugeot, the car that he drives, I don't know, man. It did not offend me like it normally does.
Let's talk about the sex scene.
Was that the weirdest sex scene you've seen in a long time?
I don't know. I will paint the picture right now. So,
all right, talking to the mic like this.
So, Detective K, Ryan Gosling, whatever you want to call him, Joe. So he's in love with Joy, who is a hologram. She's a projection who initially is just a projection that is. There's a machine on his ceiling that it just moves back and forth and projects her, so she can only stay in the room. You're a little more hopeful because Ryan Gosling, I think it's after he got paid. Yeah. He went and bought her basically a little device where she can remotely move anywhere she wants. Right. And then you can tell there's some sexual frustration there.
For sure.
At least she knows Ryan Gosling is a little sexually frustrated and she wants to do something about it. So there's, what would you call her, a prostitute? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a hooker on the street and she has her come up and she says, I saw how you were looking at her. I want to make you happy or something along those lines. So basically what happens is since she's a hologram, she syncs herself up to the movements of this hooker, basically overlays herself as a hologram into her body. They did a really good job at portraying this, by the way.
They used every penny of $185 million.
Yes. But anyways, pretty much his Joy is projecting her hologram over this hooker. And Ryan Gosling ends up banging this hooker.
Super weird. And the hooker plays a part later on. One of the problems I had with this, and there are very few, the whole resistance and shit. What was the point of that? Because it doesn't pay off in any way.
It didn't.
I think that maybe they're just setting it up. And I could say the same thing about why Jared Leto wasn't in more of the movie. He gets away in the end. Maybe they're planning a sequel. I don't know. Back to Ryan Gosling and why his character is so fucking tragic. He goes about his life thinking that he's this one-off replicant that was born and is raised, has actual memories as opposed to all the rest of these robots. But he gets his hope up and he starts to think yes, I'm special. I'm the one. I'm the chosen one. Only for his hopes to be dashed. And I think it's Harrison Ford looks at him and says, "You thought you were special," or some shit like that. And it's just it's so heart-wrenching. You feel so bad for his character. And I think that's kind of why I was so immersed in this, is just the way that it made me think and feel. Nobody likes him. His boss kind of shits on him. Everybody that lives in his apartment building hates him and calls him a skin job, which is slang for a dirty word for replicant. Yeah,
you definitely feel sorry for his character in this movie.
He does play a certified badass. There isn't a ton of action in this movie, but the action scenes that you do get are amazing and over the top. He straight up banes a dude and just snaps his back over his knee.
I wanted to see more of that kind of shit.
I don't see if they turn this into an action movie though, then I think it's not true to the original because the original doesn't have that much action in it. It's like a sci-fi mystery.
I didn't want it to get like to the John Wick extent. I just wanted a little more of those quick, hey, I'm a replicant and I'm just going to snap your neck real quick so you shut up.
Yeah, this movie isn't really about the action. True to the original, it's not about the action. It's about the mystery. It's about the visuals and the just fucking dystopia. So
I'm just saying the action you get, you want to see a little bit more. But
yeah, but I think that's what's good about it is it doesn't beat you over the head with it. It's not, he's not killing people in the same way and shit. I think it's perfectly done.
And he wears a fucking sick ass long pea coat
with a big
Do you like
collar.
That? I want that coat.
Everybody wants that coat.
Dress up as fucking Ryan Gosling for
Would
cosplay.
you rather have this coat or the
Bane
orange
coat?
No, the orange coat, the smoking jacket. I'm going to go smoking jacket because I love that. I got to have that.
I would say this coat because winter's coming, dude. Winter's coming up, and I need a fucking new coat. And that coat would just be badass, and I'd wear it all the time. I'm not going to wear an orange smoking jacket.
I definitely would. Do you remember when I asked you last week if I could wear that orange smoking jacket to your wedding?
It would be so small on you.
I can
You
get
need
it
like
tailored.
a tall one.
Anyways, do you think we're going to get a sequel for this? Or do you think it just depends on how it performs at the box office? Because when this gets released internationally, they're going to do $500 million at least.
So what do you think they're going to do, 2079?
No, they can just do like
Jump
2055. I mean, there's a lot to be unearthed here because you find out that replicants can reproduce.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford's still alive. Wallace is still alive. Obviously, Gosling's still alive. The only person that dies, I guess.
Gosling's dead.
No, he's not.
He dies in the last scene.
No, he just lays there.
He's dead.
How do you know?
He's dead, dude.
How do
You
you
didn't
know?
think he was dead?
No. First of all,
my
he's
God.
a replicant, so he can be either remade or fixed or whatever.
I'm pretty sure they shot it where you realize he choked like quietly on his last breath, and then they had that over the head zooming out, capturing of
I
it.
don't
Yeah.
think that it's a certainty.
He's not laying there comfortably. He's dead. He's laying there awkwardly, and they zoom out, and you're like, okay,
He
definitely
doesn't fall
just died.
over on the steps. He sits down.
Yeah, he's dead.
I don't think so.
I think he's dead. You want to bet? You make a bet?
How are you gonna answer it?
The director confirms it. I don't even think the director would confirm it because I think
That's
it
what
was
I'm
just
saying.
obvious. I think he's dead.
I don't. Whatever. Obviously, it wasn't that clear. If I don't think he was, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see Twitter blow up at me for either being right or wrong. Let's talk about the actual villain in the movie, the Color of Love.
Oh,
Not Jared Leto, who was barely in this. She was pretty badass though, right?
yeah. She was fucking scary, man.
Just like straight up one hand kills several people. She
Yeah,
kills Robin Wright's character.
That was an intense scene when they're in the ocean or wherever the fuck they are in the car and it's slowly sinking.
Gave me so
and
much
Ryan
anxiety.
Gosling is barely underwater, holding her up, just choking her to death.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking intense.
It was dark, man. So the visuals we talked about, they go to Las Vegas because that's where Deckard is. The way that they shot Vegas, you could tell that they went from like blue gels on the lighting to red. I can't do it any justice by describing it with words. Like you have to see it.
The visuals in that scene where they take us to Las Vegas and just shoot that scenery, which is a little ironic considering the events that recently have taken place, and you kind of see
just like in
that
it's
substance.
desolate.
But
Deckard's the only one there.
Yeah.
It's just very visually, it grabs you, and I think that the score helps with that. And
when he's walking up to wherever he thinks Deckard is, he's at Treasure Island. That's where he's staying.
Yeah.
So he's walking up to Treasure Island, and it's just red dust, like eerie, and he just walks out of
and
it.
the bees.
Yeah.
See, that was something else I read on the internet that I didn't
Oh, I forgot
realize.
about the bees part.
That's kind of the hint that he was at Rachel's grave. You remember in the beginning when Gosling finds that flower on the grave?
Yeah.
So you would have to have bees to make flowers.
Mm-hmm.
He's raising bees. He's making the flowers. He goes to the grave, leaves the flower there.
I'm not that smart, so.
Neither was I, but the internet pointed it out for me. So
I was just like, ooh, bees. Radioactive bees.
Yeah, no shit.
In that manner.
You got anything else to say about this?
I don't think so. Yeah, go see this movie again.
This is one of my favorites of the year.
I would give it a 9 out of 10. I thought the acting, even if you were to say, yeah, Ryan Gosling really had no emotion in this movie, that is what he needed to portray. I thought he portrayed the Blade Runner character very well. I'm sad to see him go since he died. But Jared Leto, I would have liked to see a little bit more of him. Just
Fun
like
fact.
as the Joker, I'd like to see him more in a lot of his roles.
Fun fact, David Bowie was supposed to play that character.
Really?
Yeah, which would have been great. Rest in peace. That wraps up our movie review. TJ, you're welcome back in the room.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Turn your mic
He's
back
coming.
on.
He's walking over.
It's almost like he never left.
You're here, dude.
All right, I'm going to do recommendations for the week. I finally watched The Bad Batch, which is a trailer we talked about forever ago. It's got Jason Momoa, Keanu Reeves, Jim Carrey in an unrecognizable part, which is so weird. He has 0 lines in the movie. He's just a weird homeless dude. This movie was 2 hours long. It should have been about an hour 30, but it's worth watching. It's very trippy. It's very weird. Jason Momoa is basically, it's dystopian future, post-apocalypse. Jason Momoa is essentially a cannibal.
How's the score in that? I remember in the trailer the score was a little...
It's weird. It's a lot of like pop, synth, electro music.
Okay.
You definitely don't watch it for the score. You watch it for Jason Momoa.
He's good in it?
Just massive.
Okay.
There's like this whole... It's like a tribe of bodybuilders. They're all huge and jacked and they're working out all the time. And in order to stay that big, they have to literally eat people because there's not enough food for everybody.
Kind of reminds me of the first episode of Rick and Morty. They're all fucking pretty jacked.
It's
in
very
the Mad Max
twisted,
episode.
Yeah. I watched Inhumans too, the first 2 episodes, and that shit is terrible. I don't know how they went so wrong with this. I'm not the first person to say that it sucks, but Jesus
doesn't that have
Christ.
Ramsey Bolton in it?
It does.
As the character,
he's
one of the characters?
Maximus the Mad, and he does no justice whatsoever. And they ruined one of my favorite characters, Karnak, who is awesome. He's a real shitbag in this. He's just not any good.
What do you think about Karnak, TJ?
Yeah, let me know. What are your thoughts on Karnak?
Karnak Black.
All right, Mark, you got a recommendation for me?
I would recommend right now America's Pastime, dude. We have some good baseball going on. Some good fucking playoff baseball.
God, I'm so anxious.
Yeah. All right. So we're all Cubs fans here, me, TJ, and Smithers. So there's a game playing in about 20 minutes?
15.
So
roughly.
we're wrapping this up real quick.
TJ is super antsy.
Yeah. But anyway, so Cubs are up right now in the series. There was a fucking great game yesterday
was amazing.
with New York and Cleveland. That was awesome to watch too. So even if you don't like baseball, I would still recommend, because baseball, I will admit,
drama
can be pretty fucking boring, but postseason baseball is some of the greatest fucking sporting shit you'll ever watch. So I would tune in to fucking baseball right now.
All right, Chicago, you got a recommendation for me?
Chicago sports in general.
Yeah.
Get on the bandwagon. The Hawks won like 10-1.
9-1.
Are they still in preseason though?
No, that was the first game.
Really?
They beat the Penguins. And then
Was Crosby playing?
Yeah.
Really?
Trubisky starts on Monday.
God, I can't wait.
I went to Lambeau, by the way. I didn't tell you that for the first time.
I'm going in 2 weeks.
How's Lambeau? Do you recommend
You
it?
just
TJ?
I recommend Lambeau if you just eat whatever you see there, because everything is deep fried, breaded, and covered in bacon. It's amazing.
Bacon and cheese.
It's absolutely unreal. I found the only stand in the whole stadium that sold vodka waters. I had 3 of them, and I was like,
because everyone just slams beer.
Yeah, they just drink beer and dork.
Wisconsin. What the fuck do you think?
Yeah, everything is cheese curds and everything. It was amazing. It was the best stadium.
It was fucking amazing.
Such a good stadium.
What was the stadium like? The vicinity of it, was it around anything?
There's indoor seats and there's outdoor seats, which blew my mind. So there's like seats that are like decent, but you don't get like the vibe of the stadium. But I can imagine that when it's like December and it's like -3, like sitting there, it being nice. But like the vibe around the stadium, it's definitely like Wrigleyville. There's like bars that
it's real condensed.
That's the direction all stadiums are going. Like they did it in St. Louis, they're doing it at Wrigley.
But then like blocks away, like there's nothing.
Yeah, it's real condensed. How was like getting to the stadium, parking, and so on? Was it easy?
Yeah, I stayed at a hotel like 2 miles away. I walked to the stadium.
It wasn't like there's one road that leads to Lambeau Field.
Kind
and there's
of
a backup
like the highway.
Of like
there was
200 cars.
In it, but yeah, I mean, I was coming from the Dells, so. But everyone in Wisconsin, like, there's like bar dice. There's like everything's a double that you get for the most part. Like a drink you get, saw the guy grab 2 Tito's bottles, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with each bottle, and then just tap it with a little water.
Like says
and I had one, and I'm like talking to one of our directors, and I'm like, like so everything is so strong. But yeah, Wisconsin is good. But after a while, like after the Green Bay game, like
get the fuck out of Wisconsin,
dude. Brutal.
There's a lot of serial killers there. I'm just saying.
People forget that.
People forget that. What game did you go to?
The Bears won, the Thursday night one. But it was like the Bears were losing, but they were just killing the Packers. Like Devontae Adams got like the shit kicked out of him. Ty Montgomery was out, and it was just like,
did you see that hit we put on Devontae Adams? Totally legal, dude.
He's supposed to play this week.
Wait, yeah, he's supposed to play. Yeah.
Is he? He's back. Respect to that.
Do you want to talk about your concert series?
Yeah, and then recommendations for the week in November. There's 30 days in Chicago. It's Red Bull is doing a concert every single night of the week, range from indie to electronic to hip hop to, there's some speeches, there's some music workshops and everything. The first show.
What does the Chumpcast have to do to get in on this? Like,
No, seriously, how do you get this? You have to like subscribe to an email, right? And then you get an email saying tickets are available, and you have to get them.
Yeah,
as soon
and
as
it's
possible.
you have to register with like our Sound Select program. So then they email you. It's just like if you've ever been to one of our shows, It's just to attend them for the most part. So
and they're super in demand. Like you have to get them within the hour.
A lot of them is sold out. Yeah, like Young Thug is the first one that sold out already. Like Fake Shore Drive is doing their 10-year anniversary, and I'm hearing rumblings of like huge Chicago hip hop artists coming to that. Migos and
I saw
Legatti's
Migos on there. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and 14 of them fall in my realm, so I have to do all the cocktails for it. So you can see some pretty good, pretty good cocktail curation.
For the listeners, one of the reasons CJ is promoting this is because he does work for Red Bull, which is a fucking sick gig. Especially he's like the rep of Wrigleyville, which is awesome too for being in this time. Cubs playoff, yeah.
Chris Bryant,
we're gonna go fucking booze right now.
Yeah.
All right, let's go drink some Monster Energy. Yeah.
Let's go to Wrigleyville, man. Go Cubs. Go play out baseball.
All right, Chumps out.
Thanks, TJ.
Wrist looking like it been dipped. Dipping that, dipping that, dipping that. Script looking like it been flipped. Flipping that, flipping that, flipping that. Pull up in that for my God. Whole squad getting that, getting that. Please say it ain't true. Had to go and cop 2. Hell, now we can't fit in that. Wild ones, like we fresh out the cage. Showtime, baby. Fresh off the stage. Bad little mama, fresh off the page. Front like you love